Let's delve into Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations and explore some of the new functionality that spans a range of the key investment areas that incorporate continuous improvements, connected data and processes, and some core capability extensions. Now, as a user coming into the application for the first time, they will see the user experience has subtly changed. There is now a new navigation bar that is more in alignment with Microsoft Office. So, for instance, the text search is in the middle of the screen. We've introduced the preview indicator in the top title, so that it's a lot clearer to indicate what version of the software we're looking at. But underneath here, we've also introduced a whole range of new business events from a data connected perspective. And from this catalogue of business events that could span accounts receivables, accounts payables, or a host of workflow activity, we could, say, as an accounts receivable clerk, manage these individual business events, and say in a business event that is to say manage the posting of a particular payment, we want to trigger a number of other activities through our organisation. With that in mind, what we can do is pass a host of field information across to an end messaging service, perhaps such as Azure messaging service, or indeed Microsoft Flow. And indeed, I've got Microsoft Flow in front of me that's taking advantage of a new connector. And we can see that new connector is relating directly across to my categories of perhaps accounts receivable or accounts payable. I'm focusing in on my payment posted for a particular legal entity, and as an individual I may wish to kind of send some notifications across to individuals via email or to a particular team's site. But I also may want to send some further events to happen within the organization, and I can do those automatically within the connector. So for example, I could be creating a new record, or I could be executing a new action, maybe triggering a workflow process. This also could go further for perhaps procurement cycle as well. So I could be doing a purchase order fulfillment via a vendor, and their vendor system could be taking advantage of a similar connector to what you're seeing here today. Now, if we come back to the core application and we start thinking about some of the core capability changes, one of those areas is revenue recognition. Now, this will provide us two key aspects. Firstly, it'll provide us compliance with IFRS 15 and ACS 606. But secondly, it'll help our customers manage their subscriptions, their services from a deferred revenue and revenue recognition perspective. So, for instance, we can start to set up revenue schedules. And here I've got a couple of examples where I've got a quarterly subscription or an annual subscription, managing the occurrences of when we're going to be managing the deferments. And I can go through and look at the detail, and here I can start to see how I would apportion the amounts through this deferment process. As an accounts receivable clerk, I'm going to be interested in what type of triggers would set off this revenue recognition. For instance, I could be doing it from a financial invoice, or I could be taking it from a sales order. And from a sales order, everything is being driven from a transaction line perspective. And here I've got a simple example of a support subscription for $48,000. And I can see it's on a line basis because I've also got the contract terms shown at the bottom right-hand corner from the start date, end date, and the occurrences. Now, when I'm looking at it from a revenue recognition perspective, and I want to manage this could go into a number of different directions. So for instance, I could introduce the concept of bundles. And bundles could be some of those traditional categories such as hardware, software, services. And this is where we may wish to apportion our revenue across those sort of headings. We could also be managing a number of orders for a particular contract, and we need to apportion our revenue accordingly. But in my context here, I'm interested in just exploring further what will be the expected revenue recognition schedule. And here I can delve deeper and run the calculation to show the individual apportionments that have been run by individual occurrence period. So here, as an example, I've got all the individual periods. I can see the sum amount in total. I can see the revenue main account. And then a little bit further along, I can see what the actual apportioned amount would be. Now, as this module starts to come available, we'll also be introducing a host of additional functionality as well around the actual journal processing for our accounts receivable clerks. So for instance, we'll need to be able to manage the movement of deferred revenue from the accounts within the chart of accounts across to the associated and appropriate revenue account. Equally, to aid that individual, we'll also be providing some new workspaces for revenue management and a host of reporting options. Equally, we've also starting to help a broader range of users as well. So for instance, at the moment, anybody that is undergoing a process of an expense claim is having to go through quite a rigorous process. And we've been going through the motions of improving that whole experience. For example, one of the things to simplify the process is that we're going to be altering the fields that are shown on screen so that we can control what is visible, what is recommended, and making the life easier for any individual that is using an expense claim form that we're now going to be introducing. And here we've got a host of examples by area, by fields, that is showing what I should not display to what is recommended display, and if it's appropriate we could also incorporate something that is optional. Now, when I think about it from an actual expense claim report, what I can also do is start to see this new user experience. And this user experience is more focused and clearer to any user using it. Here on screen at the moment, I can see I've got one expense report for a conference. I've got a host of additional tabs for receipts and expenses, and I can see a quick snapshot in the top right-hand corner that relates to my current status. If I was to delve deeper into this individual expense claim, I can see the new user experience that we're going to be bringing through. Now here it's very clear and concise for any individual. So for example, when I'm looking at my meal receipt for the Fourth Coffee House, I can see a breakdown of the information on the right hand side, and if it's appropriate, I can delve deeper in and see if there were any guests involved when I went for that particular meal. But when we're looking at it from a perspective of some of the more involved receipt types, such as a hotel, we've got an individual breakdown where there are itemized elements to that bill, such as perhaps tax or room rates. And here we are indicating those by the little icons where my cursor is at this moment. And if I then highlight the hotel bill, and if I go through to show the more actions, and I go to the itemize, it'll bring forward the actual detailed breakdown of the individual transaction dates, what type of subcategory and amount it may be, along with any scanned image that has been brought in of the actual receipt. And I've got a running balance across the top here to help me ensure that I'm balancing my receipt accordingly. Now, feedback from a focus group of some customers so far has shown that this has helped their users be focused, but also improve the speed of expense entry to date, which has been a great set of feedback that we've had. Now, the feedback from a focus group that we've had around the expense claim entry has been excellent. The focus group has highlighted to us that it has helped their users be focused, but also be efficient and improve the speed of entry for their expense claims. Now, changing tack, let's come back a moment and let's think about the broader application. Now, we're often using reporting, we're often using analytics, and we've extended the analytical workspaces even further. Historically, we would have had to have gone across to Power BI to make changes. And when we are shipping Dynamics 365 for finance and operations and our analytical workspaces, we're shipping with a host of standard default dashboards. Going forwards, we're now going to be able to edit those within the user experience of the application. And here, for instance, I've got the credit controller's analytical dashboard. And here I've got the opportunity to go directly through and edit my workspace. And once I click the edit, I can see I've now got, which I didn't have before, the visualizations as if I was within Power BI. I've got the fields as if I was in Power BI, and as an individual I can start to make changes to the dashboards that come as standard, start creating my own, and start sharing those with other users of the application. So for instance, as a simple example, if I wanted to go and change the payment details here in terms of the visualization, because I'm not happy with it being shown as a pie chart, I could change it across to something different that fitted me as an individual or fitted us as an organization that I'd like to share across the group because I felt it was a more representative view. Now, let's pause. We've looked at across a whole host of some of the key investment areas and some of the functionality. And what I would encourage you all to do is go and look at the release notes on our website and explore the wider range of functionality that has been included within this release. Thank you.